Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing good today. This is Honest Hour. This is another edition of Honest Hour, Tuesday nights. Um, you know, we're back here. We're back here tonight. We have another guest, Erin Boogie. Um, very, very well known on air DJ or radio personality, I should say. Um, and does so many things: freelance journalism. She managed artist marketing, promo, or event promo, host, producer of In the Field Radio. I mean, so much to talk about. So we're gonna not waste time. She's already here. We're gonna bring her in the room. Well, good evening.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. How about
I'm
yourself?
doing all right. Yeah, I haven't done one of these in a while.
It's been a little minute, huh?
It has.
It's been a little minute since you've been on that side.
Yes.
But I appreciate you taking the time and your busy schedule to come on. A suggestion from you turned into an interview. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate being here. And I hope you took me up on my suggestion.
yes, I did send that email, and
Good.
then I don't remember if I sent it. So I think I sent it twice on accident because my Gmail filled up and no emails could come through. So if they did email me back, I might not have known. So I sent that email again, just in case it came and got bounced back, because it said your emails will be bounced back. So,
That's the worst.
oh yeah, and you never think that you have to clear those emails. I feel like in the AOL days, it was endless. You could have had you could have had endless options, endless emails, and then it's like, no, not today, not anymore. So I have to tell you, I was able to listen to some of your interviews, and you and I'm sorry, what's the lady, the woman that you do the show with? Rover's not happy.
Yeah, no, he's not. Shh, quiet, Harlem. Lady D.
Lady D. I gotta say, I like I like the setup for you and just the way that you guys mesh so well together. I listened to a couple episodes, but the first one I had to listen to was Skateboard T. That's my guy. You
He's
know
the
that
best.
that 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 is my guy. And to hear that story about Partisan Fontaine was was crazy. Like, just crazy. So, but you definitely have a lot going on. I definitely commend what you do
Thank
and
you.
definitely look at it. You're welcome. Definitely look at it as a sign of inspiration, because there are some people in this area who really do this. Like, and I look up to them. People like you, me and Moochie, very good relationship. Gabriel, who does Finally TV.
Hmm.
So that plethora of people definitely, know what they're doing, and you're definitely on that list for
Yeah,
sure with what
and
you
it's a
do.
good group of people that have been doing it for a while. Like you can tell the ones that come and go. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's funny too because there's been some that have come and gone that I'm sad about because there were some that they were doing it for a while and really liked them and had good product and
Right.
life sometimes, so things get in the way and things happen and stuff, so and like you can't be mad at it. But as far as media in the Hudson Valley, it's a good group of people.
Right. Absolutely. And and it's just looking out and trying to look out for one another and
Yeah.
help one another where we can, because there's not enough of that. So as for me, like now I'm actually got in some places to move this podcast around, and next year I'm hoping to do an event in Newburgh, for like an artist showcase of some sort. So I'm hoping if it plays out the way I hope and I can get into the right tables and people, because I'm now starting to understand the business side of
Hmm.
all this, which is like the stuff that sucks. Like, let's be honest, it sucks. Like, it's not fun. So now starting to understand this and see everything, I definitely would love every media outlet in the area to be there if I can make it happen.
No, and that's the way to do it, to be honest. Like, right? It like the goal of to have an event like that is to give exposure, right? Like
Right,
you don't want the artists to come through and perform for each other.
right,
You want them to come through and perform and have them be seen. And that's the way to do it, because then those outlets will bring those artists on, or if they're, a blog or something where they write or whatever have you, whatever the platform is, like they'll bring their own exposure to that artist. And that's the right way to do it. Whenever we did events, that's what we did. We always tried to invite the other media outlets to come through so that they could do their thing. So I commend you for that.
yeah, because I'm kind of like in a weird space right now. Like I do my sports show Mondays, I do this show, and then I'm working with a guy who's got some connections in the industry. So he's the one who's gonna be helping me bridge that gap to make this happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just figuring out how to navigate all that, and just like I said, get at those certain tables. You know, I rewatched your interview with Sammy B, and one of the things you said in there was you hear more no's than yeses.
Every day.
You everything's a no, no, no. And it's all about finding that way to navigate that one yes that can change everything. You
And
know,
to be quite frank, like, I've been in some pretty prestigious rooms with in the field radio alongside a lot of, Hot 97s and the sources and, with my little name card as, Erin Boogie with, in the field radio,
of course.
next to these outlets. And I didn't do that with connections to the inside the industry. I did it by kicking down the door. So,
Right.
you just have to, like, if that's what you want to do, if this is what you want to do, then you just have to go out there and get it. And being a media outlet, there's ways to do it. So it's out there.
Right. I've already taken the initiative to inviting myself to tables,
Yeah,
and
that's all you have to, and that's the
like
thing people don't
seriously,
understand. It's not going to come to you. You have to go to them.
right. You just invite yourself, and then
Yeah.
and then from there you just make it happen.
Yeah,
You know.
you meet other people and introduce yourself and tell them what you do and invite yourself to the next thing.
Exactly. Exactly. But
You get it. You totally get
it,
it.
like I've watched enough and seen enough. I just try to utilize every piece that comes my way. I try to utilize every piece that comes my way, and I just try to from there try to try to utilize it to go somewhere else or use it as a stepping stone.
Hmm.
But now on to this is gonna be a good one. I can feel it. So so tell me, where are you originally from?
Originally, I'm from Kingston.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Kingston's a weird area. It could be a weird area. When I used to deliver for Coke, and it was just I don't know, it just was. I'm from Newburgh, so anything outside Newburgh's weird to me, I guess.
Well, I always like in Kingston, especially at the time that I was there. I know it's a lot different now, with the whole gentrification thing and people moving up from the city. It's a much different place than when I lived there. But it was like, the website back in the day, like People of Walmart, like
Yeah.
that was Kingston to me. It was just a weird place. It always felt like it was like Mutant City, and I just had to, like, I didn't move far. I moved to Poughkeepsie. I crossed the bridge. It's not like I, like, left and went all these crazy places or whatever. But I just was like, it's just different being in Dutchess County. It's like
Yeah.
you don't have to go far for it to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
No.
I ended up moving here about 14 years ago, and I've been here ever since.
And growing up and living in Kingston, what were your experiences like there? And Like, what was your family life like? You an only child? You have any siblings?
Um,
Mom, dad?
I had a sister, but she passed away in 2020 from a drug overdose. So
Sorry to
recipes to
hear that.
her. Um, yeah, no, that was pretty traumatic. And but she battled drug addiction for about 10 years before that. So it's one of those situations where like when you're going through that and when you're in it, it's an issue that affects the family just as much as it affects the addict. And when you're going through it, it's real tough because you never know when you're going to get that
Right.
call. So when you get that call, it's awful. But as you're grieving, there's a little bit of a sense of relief of they're not out there doing that anymore. I know where they are. I'm not gonna get that call. Like I can finally breathe and say like, okay,
Right.
like like I don't have to live this day in and day out anymore. Like I can finally rest. So
Absolutely.
it's like a weird place to be because you don't want to be like, oh, well, I'm relieved, but like there is that sense of relief that comes along with that grief. So um went through that. Like growing up, like two family household, like or two parent household wasn't perfect by any means. It
There is.
was not the June Cleaver, like Leave It to Beaver, like perfect suburban household that you hope to have. But I can't say it was the worst case scenario. Um it was different. It was My parents listened to like classic rock, and that was like all I heard in the house.
Right.
And my sister listened to like indie music and that sort of thing. And then you had like me who was only listening to hip hop. So there was like also like that disconnect in the household, like where it was like I like don't fit in here, you know what I mean? So there was like that going on too. Um
Oh man.
and then it was like on top of all that, like I struggled in school too because a traditional learning environment is very challenging for me. And so
Okay.
instead of like recognizing that, my parents were like, "You're doing bad. Like we're going to send you to a private Catholic school." So
Oh
like
Jesus.
exactly. So like took me out of public school for high school, put me in a private Catholic school, like did not feel like that was my tribe at all. So for 4 years I like really struggled there, like completely acting out, like like just could not find my way there. So like had a lot of like struggles going on like growing up. Like kind of had a hard time growing up.
Wow.
But
Wow.
what's
That's
my solace was like the music, you know what I mean? And that's why like I always say that like hip hop was the only thing that ever loved me back. Like anytime I've ever had any dealings when it came to music and hip hop, like good things always happened. Like good things always came back to me. So it was like anytime I ever concentrated on that, like good things happened. So I just try to like stay within that.
well. It's interesting you brought up hip hop. It's a little early, but I feel like that's the segue to the game. I don't know if you ever were able to watch an episode, but I do this game on here called Honest Picks. And it's pretty much I'm going to name two things. You're going to pick one over the other. Your categories on this fine Tuesday evening in this beginning of October is male uh, hip hop artist, female hip hop artist, male R&B artist, and female R&B artist. So, is there any preference where you'd like to start?
Male hip hop artists.
All right, Tupac or Biggie?
Oh, Biggie.
And what's great about this game is some people like can answer quick. Some people are like, But I had a guy on here a couple weeks ago, Hood Soul. His name's Ahmad. I asked him that, and he was stressed. That was the first one. And he was stressed. I mean, stressed. Like, oh my gosh. I'm like, that's a generic one. I thought that'd be okay.
No, I feel his pain.
Nas or Jay-Z?
Nas.
Rakim or KRS-One?
Rakim.
Kanye West or Drake?
Kanye.
Ghostface Killer or Ice Cube?
Ghostface.
Busta Rhymes or Scarface?
Buster Rhymes.
Most Def or Common?
Most Def.
Method Man or T.I.?
Method Man. That's my husband.
Oh, I love Method Man. Andre 3000 or Black Thought?
Oh, that's tough. Uh, I'm gonna say Andre.
Last one for that category. Lupe Fiasco or Ludacris?
Luda.
All right. I'm going to switch over here to female hip hop. Queen Latifah or MC Light?
Oh, that's tough too. I'm gonna say MC Light.
Missy Elliott or Eve?
Ah, that's really tough because I like both for different reasons, but probably Missy over Eve.
Nicki or Cardi?
Okay, this is gonna be a really controversial pick, but Cardi.
Now, I have to know. It's not, and it's up for music is subjective. But why Cardi? I'm just interested to know why over Nicki.
You know, I like Cardi's music better overall, like as a whole. Like when I think of like those two artists, like I like Nicki Minaj's music, but I never liked Nicki.
Okay.
And I liked Nicki's like more of her like commercial music, right?
Okay.
I never like bought a Nicki album. I never really like downloaded her stuff, but like Cardi, like I've liked her stuff from the beginning, like from the mixtapes on, and I like her as a personality. And I watched her on Love and Hip Hop. Like I watched her come up. Like I just always I thought she was more raw, more authentic, and
Okay.
so I just gravitated to her more earlier and stayed with her than with Nicki. I don't know. It's just, and like now even it's like funny what time does to a legacy, right? Like now you see Nicki crashing out, like she's married to a sex offender. It's like Nicki's in a weird place.
Yeah, like, like real weird. Like, yo, what are you doing? You're going backwards.
Yeah, I'm like, please just shut up and stay off the internet. Like that's
Just
all you got to do. Because
yeah,
I was
don't.
watching her, like I actually watched like a couple snippets of her tour the other day, and it's like she's still selling out arenas and stuff like that. Like, just go do that. Go make your money. Do your thing.
And just leave the rest alone.
Yeah, like just shut up.
But make music, but shut up outside of the music.
Well, that's the thing though, is that like Nicki's not making like quality music nowadays, and I don't know if it's like because of the headspace she's in or like what she's doing, but she doesn't have to.
She's been doing it now almost 15 years, if not
And she
longer.
has the hits. Like, just go play what people want to hear. Like, you're at that point in your career.
Right. People are gonna listen to you just because of who you are. You've built that name. You've built
Yeah.
that reputation.
Yeah, like think about it. Like Wu-Tang Clan is not making new music. You know, individually, yes, but like Wu-Tang Clan, like when they go on tour, they're playing 36 chambers.
Right.
Like Nicki can do that
Wu-Tang
in her
Clan
career.
ain't nothing to fuck with. Like
That's what Nicki can do. That like go do that.
she's got a deep enough catalog and enough hits to do that.
Absolutely.
Lauryn Hill or Lil Kim?
Lauryn Hill,
Foxy Brown or Trina?
Foxy Brown.
All right. And then next category. R. Kelly or Usher?
Usher.
Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder?
Oh man. Honestly, I'm gonna say Ray Charles. I was such a Ray Charles fan as a kid.
Yo, he was the man though.
Is he's the man? Like
Is Donnell Jones or Music Soul Child?
Donnell Jones.
Babyface or Keith Sweat?
Babyface.
John Legend or Neo?
Never John Legend.
Never.
Never. He's the most boring artist on the planet. If I have trouble sleeping, that's what I put on.
She said never. Wow. Wow. She said never. All right. All right. Last category of females. Aaliyah or Beyonce?
This is another controversial pick, but Aaliyah for me always.
Oh no, that's not controversial. I think that's the right answer.
What if I
But
said that on Twitter? The Beehive will come to my house.
oh yeah, yo, listen, the Beehive and the Swifties. They're I've always said that Taylor Swift is white Beyonce. Literally,
1,000%.
she is white
Yo,
Beyonce. Like
I've
for
never
real.
heard that before, but now that you say that, it's so
Like you
true.
think about it, like they kind of do the same thing, like except one's black, one's white. Like they go out of the country and do tours. Like their fans love them. Like their fans love their men. Like people love Jay-Z, people love Travis Kelce. Like they are literally like the same. Like it's scary. Jill Scott or Erica Badu?
Erica Badu.
Sade or Shaka Khan?
Sade.
Janet Jackson or Mariah Carey?
Oh, Mariah Carey, I love her.
Yeah, her season's coming. I hate that song.
She's defrosting.
Oh God, she's all like she already announced her Christmas tour in like July.
I know, I'm ready.
So now the last two that everyone hates: Whitney Houston or Aretha Franklin?
Whitney.
Michael Jackson or Prince?
Michael. Listen,
I think you did
when
the
I was a
best.
kid, like it was Michael Jackson for me, like all the time. I was actually, you know what's crazy is that like even now, like I'll go down Michael Jackson rabbit holes. Like I'll just be on YouTube and I'll watch like his music videos, his live videos, like Super Bowl halftime show. I watch videos of like his drummer. Have you ever watched like his drummer doing some of the
Oh, yeah.
like his drum set is massive, and he never
Let me tell you,
makes a mistake.
I love Michael Jackson. He's hanging here on the wall. My kids knocked this down. They have me mad. What up, Andromeda? Shout out to her.
Yo, the Free
Go,
Willy song, like
go,
classic.
go follow her on all social media platforms under Andromeda. But my kids, this was in a frame, and it like moves. I don't know if you can really see it, but it moves like in 3D as you like look around.
Yeah, that's fine.
Kids knocked it off. Kids knocked it off the wall. I could have killed them.
They're grounded.
Like Michael Jackson is sacred. Like sacred. So, growing up, what were some of your interests and your hobbies?
Horseback riding,
Horseback riding, really?
which I still do to this day.
Hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. And what age did you start doing that?
I was 3 years old.
And you're still doing it. And God bless. Because listen, someone tried to get me on a horse once. I'm like, I don't think that's really my thing. You know, like,
A lot of people feel that way. It's intimidating.
well, you know, it's one of those things too, and that like sometimes I feel like that's one of those activities that's not for Black people. Not saying that there I know Black people who do it. I just feel that way. You know, like she said, three is wild. Oh, that sounds fun though.
Yeah, no, I was 3 years old. My dad had a horse, and so he started me riding at 3 years old. And I started taking lessons probably around 8-ish, 9-ish, 10-ish. And I started like I was like into it. Like I was really like I was into competing and doing all that stuff. And then I probably did that up until like the end of high school. And then
And then,
life kind of took over. So I wasn't doing that kind because I actually worked at a barn and stuff like that. But you know, I stuck with it. I've taken breaks on and off over the years, but I still ride every week.
yeah, like gotta make time. That can be your time. A lot of people need something like that to decompress, right?
Exactly.
So, how is it that you transitioned kind of towards where you are now with the radio?
So
Um,
that was kind of crazy. So I started doing promo work in 2016, and
okay,
so that's how I got involved with the music locally. And um I did that for a couple of years, and that's how I got into the management and that kind of thing. And then the management thing, which God bless anybody that does it, because it's professional babysitting. It's so hard, and it's not for everybody, for sure. But the two artists that I was working with at the same time, they were both kind of like going through their own things, and they were like, we need to take a break separately. Like, I worked with the artist in Queens and I worked with the artist locally, and separately came to me and both decided that they needed to take a break from music. And I was like, okay, well, where does that where does that leave me? So
Separately, but around the same time.
yeah, like literally same time, separately. Like, they didn't really know, like they knew of each other but didn't really know each other, and like both going through things, and both decided at the same time basically that they needed a break from music. And I was like, okay, like, well, I need to do I need to do something. And so around that time, I decided that that I have a voice, because I'm a strong opinionated person, and that I wanted to create a platform that was a little bit different than the things that I was seeing around here for artists to be able to showcase their music. And so I approached WVKR, because that's an FM radio station, and I pitched to them like my idea, and they were like, put together a playlist. So I got all the local artists in the area to submit their music, and submitted a playlist, and they liked the idea. It was actually something that they were looking for. They were kind of looking for a community DJ to come in and bridge the gap between what they had and the community. So it was kind of like the right time and the right place, like one of those situations
kind of
where like I had an idea and it happened to be what they were looking for. And so the show started to come together. At the time, we had another DJ that was working with us. Her name is DJ Miss Official. Shout out to her.
That's my girl. She was on this show, episode 8.
And yeah, we parted ways with her, like, I want to say in like the first year of doing the show, but we're on good terms now. We weren't when we parted ways, but we're on good terms now. I knew her from doing all the promo work, so that's how we started the show together. And that first year of starting a radio show, like, this is not my background. It wasn't anybody else's background. So it was a lot of growing pains, a lot of trial and error. We weren't doing interviews or anything at first. It was just kind of like, let's get in there and just kind of figure out, like, what is the flow of the show going to be like? How do we even run these boards in this radio station? Like, how do we, like, we need to do some community outreach to these artists to even have people submit music. Like, how do we even get this off the ground? So we did that for a while. And then we started bringing in artists. And I think our first interview was Hefe with the Shot. So shout out to him, because he hasn't been on the show again since then. And I can't even imagine what that first interview was like. We don't have a lot of those early interviews recorded because it was live on air. So so add that to, because now we pre-record it, because what was happening was, being on radio, you're regulated by the FCC.
Okay.
So you can't curse. There's certain subject matter that you can't discuss on air. You have to be like really careful. And when we were doing the live interviews, people were coming on, they were cursing, they were saying things they weren't supposed to. And it was a lot when we were learning to kind of keep up with, right? So then the pandemic happens, right? So we start the show in 2019. The pandemic happens.
Slap in the face.
So we have to pre-record the shows now. And we're kind of like, this isn't so bad. Like, now we're not having to worry about people cursing because we can edit. We can kind of control the product a lot better, make sure it's, radio ready. So we started pre-recording the interviews and putting the shows together that way. And we've had a lot more success with it because we had a lot more control over it. Instead of showing up there and just kind of like winging it live,
Right.
you know, we were able to pre-record the interviews, edit it. It made people sound better because there's no you know what I mean? Like, you can edit all that stuff out. We can edit it for time. And then what we were doing was editing the interviews that we were playing live on air for time, because you don't want to have, you have a 1 hour show and the concept is you're playing music. You don't want to have a 1 hour interview, right?
Right.
But when you're pre-recording, like we're talking now, it's like casual conversation. And even in the studio, sometimes it was hard because you have a really good conversation happening. What's the last thing you want to do is be like, okay, let me cut to a song.
Right.
Now I got to go play 20 minutes worth of music. So when we were recording, it was like, hey, why don't we just free flow the conversation? We can edit on the radio, and then we can upload the long form to the podcast platforms, because on there you can't play the music anyway, and you don't have to edit as much, right?
Right.
You could edit for clarity, but like you don't have to edit the curse words. You don't have to edit. So now we can kind of have like this like dual thing going on. So like the pandemic actually helped us like change up the show a little bit and kind of opened us up to what we could do. That was also around the same time that I got the job at Baller Alert. So I started writing for them, and that helped a little bit too. So, because I also had no idea. I actually took an internship too under a journalist so that I could learn a little bit more about doing interviews and that sort of thing, because I didn't want to just be out here sounding crazy either.
Yeah, exactly. You know, right. You didn't want to sound like you didn't want to sound like you didn't know what you were talking about. Because sometimes people, you know, come into this and they don't know. And if you don't, and you really didn't know, like legitimately didn't know, but you can't allow people to know that you didn't know in the moment.
No, and I also wanted to make sure that I wanted to get better at what I was doing. I didn't want to just listen to other podcasts. I didn't want to just listen to other radio shows. I wanted to actually work under somebody, and that I knew that I was able to get better at what I was doing, that it was a learning experience instead of going back to school for like a journalism degree that I knew I wasn't really necessarily going to use. Like, I'm not going to go work for the New York Times, right? So there's other way to get educated, and I knew that if I took an internship, that it was going to open doorways, that I was going to learn, that I was going to progress the radio show, that I was going to be able to come up with fresh ideas for other ways to grow the show. I just knew that it was going to make us better in the long run. So I did that. So like during the pandemic, it really helped us, because the other thing that was happening is that you couldn't go outside, right? Everything moved digitally. So we were getting hit up from PR firms everywhere. So we ended up interviewing people from all over the world during the pandemic. Wow. So we got on a lot of PR lists that I don't think we would have gotten on if we didn't exist at that time. Definitely some growing pains happening during that time, because again, we were still kind of a fledgling outlet. We were learning, but growing, getting better, learning from our mistakes, seeing what worked and what didn't. So things kind of progressed pretty quickly from there, that we never thought. Like, we interviewed during the pandemic, like, I don't know if you know Haiti Baby out of the Bay Area, but he had gone on that on Power 106 with oh God, what is the show on there where they freestyle?
On Power 106.
Yes. Oh, I can't think of what the name of the show is right now. It's gonna come to me afterwards, I know it. But there's like this show on Power 106 where it's like they're known for having people come on and freestyle, and he went on there and sounded like the devil was coming out of him, like while he was freestyling, and it was like awful. It was so bad, and he went viral for that. and he came on our show and was talking about how he did that on purpose, like to go viral. So we have like that interview, and that's actually out on the podcast platform.
Wow.
Yeah, we interviewed somebody from London at the time. Like we had like a bunch of like really cool interviews that happened during that time. So it was wild, but I'll take it. I would do it over again for sure.
And you know, it seemed like it happened real quickly. Like you just answered like 6 questions in that that segment there of questioning.
It
Like, but
actually,
it's all about.
God, it was like we started the show and like I don't know what I expected, but not exactly what happened because again, it was like I'll never forget it. We had the Rappy Hour podcast on, so it was like Raps and A Game and then
Erin, those are
yeah,
my guys.
yo, and then we were like, oh, there's this like virus happening, and like literally the world shut down like immediately after that, and we weren't in the studio for like I don't know, it was like a year and some change.
Yeah,
Like nobody was
like
allowed in the studio on campus for a really long time, so it was like we had like I think we had started the show a year prior. So you're talking about like a year's worth of growing pains happening and you're like finally starting to hit your stride. And then I want to say we started the show on like February 28th. So like the last day of February. And if you think about when the pandemic hit and everything shut down, it was mid-March.
yeah, it was just like it was insane.
So for us, it really was like the way everything happened was just so fast. It was like we got one good year in and then pandemic shut down. We're not in the studio for a year. Crazy things are happening in that year. And then, you know, just continuing on.
And you had to really, people during that time really had to get creative, right? Mm-hmm. Because like let you know, like when it shut down, oh man, I didn't go to work for like 9 months, and I ain't gonna lie, when I had to go back to work, I was mad. Like like I was mad. Like I'm just like, yo, like why y'all need me to come back? I'm chilling at home making just as much as if I was there. So but I say that to say, you know, when people had to get creative, people had to do different things, but it seemed like it helped you align your algorithm for how you needed to do the show. Because like you said, you know, you have less control over a live show. You don't know what's going to come out of the guest's mouth or when it's going to come out. Like he or she or they might drop the F-bomb and you're like, oh yeah, it's live on air. You're not going to fix that. Like, you know, you just can't. It's just like certain things on TV. Peace unto you. What's going on, fam? Hope all is well. We got to get in contact soon. Excuse me. You know, you have to really just have to know how to do those things. And sometimes we don't know until we're there. We don't know until we're in the heat of the moment. So in a sense, if things were to go that other direction, you might not have gotten to where you are without the pandemic.
1,000%.
You know, and it sucks to say that, you know, but you know, sometimes you need a tragedy. You need a tragedy if in order to make what's the word I'm looking for? To make success, I'll go with for now. It's not exactly the phrase I was looking for, but that's, you get what I'm trying to say. And you know, it's not an easy process. But I want to know, for people who don't know or people who don't understand, because I'm getting in the midst of working with a producer, right, to do this show, to do more in-person interviews, as well as even when I have to do it like this, he's gonna produce this, right? So explain to me and maybe to the viewers, because I've seen it, like, and I've seen what he does, and I'm just like, yo, that's a lot of moving pieces. Explain to someone what is the real, like, nitty gritty behind you're not only on air but producing as well.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those keys to the? What are some of the production elements to putting on a show?
For oh man, it's like there's so much that goes into it that people don't understand, and we're bare bones because we're audio only, right? Like I would really love to get into um the visuals, but I just don't have it in the budget right now because that's not my forte, and I need to pay somebody to do that. Like that is definitely something that like there see that, and that's I think that's an important lesson. One of the most important lessons that I learned doing this is like you need to know when you need to outsource.
Right.
Like you need to know what you can do, and you need to know when you need to bring somebody else in to do something. And like
Right.
there's just certain things like I've taught myself, like I edit the audio, so like I handle everything like soup to nuts basically. So I book the guests, I handle all that correspondence. Right now I record on Zoom. So that's
Okay.
pretty basic. It's really easy. I strip the audio from Zoom and I put it into a DAW and I edit the audio for that. I will tell you that my biggest pet peeve when I edit a show is I have to edit the MP3s that people send me. And this is not even just like, I can't say like, oh, local artists or whatever. It's even professional MP3s when I get, because we're in DJ pools.
Right.
And so I get sent, you know, so-and-so's latest album, and I download the MP3 and I have to edit like the blank space at the end of the MP3.
Oh, gotta check it out.
And that drives me wild. It's the most time-consuming part of putting a show together. Is having to go through and edit all of that, and then make sure like. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I graduated from audio engineering school and I'm like the greatest at what I do, but I have to make sure that the levels are all similar. So like I can't have like my audio be like way louder than the music. So I have to make sure like all that stuff
Balances out.
yeah, exactly. I have to, add in the intro, add in the drops, add in the outro. I have to bounce it out. I have to send it to all the different places it needs to be. I have to follow up with the guests. I have to put the flyers together. I have to promote the show. I have to make sure that all that stuff is scheduled on social media.
Yeah.
And then it's chasing the guests too to make sure, like, do I have a picture for them? Because you can't just use anything without permission. Everything has to be, is this okay with you? Is that okay with you?
Right.
So, there's that too. The social media aspect of it is a lot. I've been slacking on a lot of stuff lately, especially since probably October of last year, I had a health scare. So since then, I've had like a series of things crop up. So things have been a little bit more difficult for me to get stuff done. But I'm starting to get back into it and get back into the flow of things. So it's like, actually what I was going to do is just come up with like a checklist of like, have you done these things before you, you know what I mean? Before your show airs, have you done these things?
Yeah, because once you start outsourcing all that stuff, right? In the interim, it's easier for you to get done what you need to get done. But as let's say easy's this way, cost is this way.
Mm-hmm.
So now,
but you know what though? Like some stuff is like worth it too. Like I was on like a Wix webpage, right? That's the other thing too, is like keeping up with the website and stuff too. Like you have to manually do that. I don't think people understand that like content just doesn't make its way onto the website. Like every event that you're posting or everything, like you have to go in and manually edit all of those things. But so I was really not happy with our Wix web traffic. And I was like, this isn't SEO. This is like, Wix isn't working for us. Let me research websites. This is a little bit of free game. I'm about to give
Uh,
out. Let me research websites that are tailored towards like podcast platforms, right? So I ended up switching our website to this website platform called Podpage, I think, something like that. And it's tailored towards podcasts. And there's like different tiers you can get. Like you can add a blog, you can add a web store, you can add all these things depending on like how much you want to pay for this website. But I was like, in the interim, I'm just gonna get like a bare bones, like whatever their basic tier is, and just like see how this goes. And let me tell you, like I haven't uploaded an episode in a while since I've been kind of like on
right.
hiatus, and just because the show's not been on hiatus. I've been uploading music episodes, but I can't upload a music episode to podcast platforms. So without the interviews, I haven't been uploading to the podcast platforms. And we're getting more downloads on our podcast platforms now that I'm not uploading interviews, but since I've switched to that web page than ever before.
That podcast page
Yeah.
or what?
Yeah, because that podcast website is tailored for podcasts, and it's like specifically meant for like hosting podcast websites. Like this whole like the whole website is like this whole website platform, I should say, is specifically meant and tailored to hosting podcast based websites, right? And like that's like their thing. That's what they specialize in. They have a bunch of big podcasts on there, whatever. And so I switched to them, and like one of the things that they promise is that like they will drive more traffic to your podcast. And since I've switched to that website hosting platform, sure enough, like more traffic to our podcasts
Has
than ever.
happened.
And I'm like, I'll be damned. Like, it's just like simple things like that where you're like, if it feels off, if it feels like it needs to be changed, if it feels like it's not tailored to you, like there is stuff out there that you can change that is tailored to what you're doing. So like, just like, don't settle for things just because you think like it's easier or this is what everyone else is using, or like, especially if you're taking on that kind of stuff, like that stuff is out there for you. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like definitely do your research. Definitely outsource what you can't do yourself. Like I said, like for me, it's visuals. Like I'm not good with a camera. I'm not good at editing video. It's just never been my thing. So I know that like one day I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to get a cameraman with a studio and I'm going to do
Right.
in-person interviews and strip the audio that way. But I'm not there yet. But like, you just kind of have to know what you don't know.
Right. And you know, it's let me tell you, because I wear many hats myself on top of this podcast, the sports show. You know, I do photography. I'm ordained to marry people. I've dabbled into life insurance. I'm dabbling into travel agent. You know, just really trying to garner skills, right? Trying to just, you know, I didn't go to college. It wasn't for me. So now
Yeah.
I'm just dabbling in everything till I get that one thing that hits. Um, so you know, you have these things, and that's the one thing I was offered a job for photography, but they wanted photography and videography. I can't. First of all, you can't do both. There's no way I can get still shots and do a
Yeah.
video. Like
Doesn't
that's
look like
just not.
that.
It's just me, bro. Like I'm alone in this. There's no way I can get you both. So they're like, all right, well, you know, keep, you know, they kept they decided they didn't want to hire me. That's cool. I wasn't upset. I couldn't offer you what you were looking for. Well, about a week later, they found out no one else who was a solo photographer could do that either. So they came back to me and they wanted me to do it. But then I had told them, well, now the price is doubled because now you've went out there and now, you know, I have less notice to do
Yeah,
this
yeah.
event. So now the price is double. So, you know, take it or leave it. They left it. Came back again. I said,
Oh
no,
my
we're
God.
we're done. We're
Yeah,
done.
this is
We're,
too much.
you know, we're done. Like they're like, oh, we'll pay quadruple. I said you could pay me 5 times. I'm not doing it because now the date is booked. I had something else. I can't. I already took their deposit. I can't. Excuse me. I can't give them back. I can't. What you call it? I can't say, oh, they're offering me more here, or it's not like that. People just don't understand that it's a business. And once you start doing that and going and you start doing those things, yeah, that business has to dictate
Yeah.
how you're going to get the best options of it, you know, because if you're not utilizing business and dictating, um, you're going to run into some more problems, more that you don't want to run into. That's for sure.
Well, clients like that, I always find like the clients show themselves to you, and it's like, you know what, you're a headache, and that's not the kind of client I want.
Right. Right. And I think I think, and you take things from every field because let's be honest, right? You put all your cards out. What you just explained to me, like to me, I think everyone is an artist, right? Like, and what I say that is like, okay, you look at what people who make music do. That's just one form of art.
Mm-hmm.
This podcast for me is my form of art. This is the way I do things, right? You doing radio is your form of art. And everything you just named that you have to do is everything an independent artist does. An independent artist does all those same things that you just named, from the promo, from paying for the time and this and that and
Mm-hmm.
that. And sometimes you probably don't even see the full benefit or potential benefit that you could on the financial end. And that's just what it is. You're gonna, one of my biggest inspirations overall, maybe not everything that comes out of his mouth is Kanye West. Now, musically, gifted, one of the greatest ever. Can't take it away from him. Some of the things that comes out of his mouth,
Again,
not so
he's
much.
another one. It's like, please just shut up.
Right. But one of the best things he said, and he was a little um not irate. What's the word I'm looking for? Hostile. It's a little hostile. I think he was talking to Sway. You remember that interview? You don't have the answer, Sway. You don't have the answer, Sway.
Houseway.
Yeah. Prior to that, there was something that he said about when he would have he's like, yeah, like listen, he had talked about losing money in investments, right? And he was just like, oh, well, I've put money into this and I've lost money. I've put money into that and I've lost money. I've lost 100,000 here or a million there. It's like you said, it's trial and error, and you ain't gonna get it right at first. Some people maybe get lucky; it happens 1 in 1 million, but it ain't gonna happen right away. That's for sure. One other thing is, and the other thing is too, and you would be able to test this more than I can. How big does sponsorship play a role in what you do?
I mean, for me, it's nice if it comes along, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't influence me in any way.
Right.
So, so that's the thing with WVKR is it's non-commercial radio, right? So with the non-commercial radio, like we can make money off of that
Okay.
because that's Vassar College's program to teach the students radio,
Okay.
and they foot the budget for that. And that's why it's really important, and like I don't know how to stress this enough, like when our guests were coming on and we were doing live shows, like one FCC fine could take that whole radio station off the air.
Oh.
Like a FCC fine is like 6 figures. Like that budget over there was like 60 grand. You know what I mean? So it was like imperative that we were adhering to the FCC guidelines, because a fine could wipe out that entire radio station for Vassar College, and that's not fair to the students. As a community DJ, I would feel really awful that their entire program got taken away from them.
Right.
So with WVKR, that is a perk that they allow the community DJs. It's not like going to K104 and getting a job.
Right.
So the way that I use it is to spin it, right? Like it's kind of like a PR flip. So it's like I have the show on WVKR, which is FM radio, which is a big deal. And also they have huge bandwidth. So like they actually have a larger bandwidth than say a Hot 97. So
okay.
On a clear night, they broadcast into like 5 different states. So as an artist, and when I'm explaining this to artists, it's like I hear you and I understand that you want to get on Hot 97.
Right.
And like I get that you want Drewski to play your song at 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But Drewski's gonna play your song one time, right? If you send your music to me,
right,
I'm gonna put your music in rotation, and it's gonna air on WVKR however many times I want it to air.
Right, versus that one time and then it's over.
And it might be heard in numerous prisons because we have a huge inmate listening base.
Oh, wow.
So you're not just talking about like, oh, it's being heard in, Dover Plains or what, it could be heard in up to 5 different states. It's being heard by a shit ton of inmates. And, like people will talk about, oh, I want to pay to put my music on JPay. And it's like, well, then an inmate has to stumble upon your music, right? Like they have to be playing on their tablet and stumble upon your music. Like they listen to our show every Monday night because who doesn't have a lot of hip hop? The inmates. Like there's no hip hop stations up here.
They don't know nothing.
No, but they listen to the radio in there because they don't have anything else to do. So when they hear a show every Monday at 10 p.m., they would call out, In the Field Radio is on the block. And they would tune into our show. And how do we know this? Because they take the time to write us letters. They take the time to hit us up on social media when they get released. Like we've had former inmates that have been incarcerated and listened to us when they were locked up, get out, hit us up, and they've been on the show.
Wow.
They've come to our events. So we're super locked in with our inmate fan base. It's somebody that we're like, I actually brought on this woman who works. She there's a retired thoroughbred what is it at one of the prisons around here at Walk Hill.
Okay.
And they deal with retired racehorses. It's a retired racehorse sanctuary at Walk Hill, and the inmates run the program. And so I had her come on the show and talk about the program so that way like the inmates could hear about something that they're doing, you know what I mean? Because that feels good for them. It's like, oh man, like this is something that we're a part of.
Right. And you make them feel part of the show or part of the conversation.
Yeah. So it's like, why don't we have this woman come on and talk about this program that we have here in Walk Hill, so that way people that are listening can be like, oh, that's cool that we have this around here. But the inmates that are tuning in are like, oh man, this is our program. Yeah. This is something that we take pride in. So like we do a lot of stuff like that on the show. And so like it's important for us, like when we're playing people's music, that, they understand that, our listening base is big, that they'll get their spins, they'll get paid out, the radio station tracks it. So if they're registered, they'll make their money, money for their FM spins. They're reaching a wide audience, a diverse audience. So, we want people to send us their music. I try to educate people as best as possible. Like I can't force you to go register your music, but I really try to educate artists to get registered, so that way when they are sending me their music, because it's airing not just on WBKR, but on the Village Global Network and on Elgin Sound Radio. So it gets aired Monday night on WBKR, and then the following week it re-airs Monday morning on the Village Global Network at 8 a.m. And then on Wednesday on Elgin Sound Radio on Wednesday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So like they're also getting internet radio spins. So it's like I try to educate people on being registered so they can receive the royalties from the internet radio and from the FM radio spins, because you don't want other people to end up with your royalties, because all those uncollected royalties go to the top 10%.
Right.
So
all those artists who are already making money off their own music.
Exactly. So there is that part of it too, that I try to, because I have like the the manager in me. I try to educate as best as possible too. It's not always well received, and that's unfortunate, because it's never coming from a bad place, but it is what it is.
Well, some people take offense to it, and one artist who's from the area, but he relocated, Oswin Benjamin.
Oh yeah, I know him.
Yeah, that's my guy. He's a phenomenal rapper, even more phenomenal person. And when he released his second album, I think it was 2021, Joy Comes in the Morning. But morning was spelled MOURN, like, upset. Personal close friend of ours, Naj Murph, had died right before the pandemic hit.
Gosh.
Yeah, he's everywhere. That was my brother for real. He's everywhere. And
talented.
Super. He's the reason why this show came about. His passing really made me think about life, and like how in 30 years the man had been on TV, he had been on the radio, he had opened up for multiple artists, and how he really just pushed the envelope. So I said, it's my turn, and this was one of the things that came out of that, aside from my vision board here of many things. My podcasting's on here. I have a CDL. I'm trying to get endorsements. I took a security class, got insurance license on here. I like to talk. Got motivational speaking on here. I'm setting up a clothing line. In-person shows. I've worked on that. So I got barber school on here. I would love to learn how to cut hair, but that's a really time-consuming thing, because you got to have X amount of hours for the state and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that Oswin had done was he put that album up, and then I went to go show my friend a song one day, or send him a song, and it was gone. It was like it was there, but when Apple Music darks everything out. Well, about, I don't know, a week and a half later, he posted a video stating that he said he apologized. He had to take the album down because he didn't, I don't know the right terminology. I'm sure you'll say it once I convey what I'm trying to say, but pretty much the rights to the music didn't belong to him.
Oh, no.
So, pretty much, whatever he filed, he filed it wrong, and it didn't go to him. It was going to the other people who it shouldn't go to.
Yeah.
He caught it, took it down, fixed it, and then he put it back up. So, he's big on really the rights to his music. And that's why he's not signing none of these major labels. People don't understand also, when you sign these deals, there's a lot that comes into it. And even so, I heard an actress say, you think about it, let's say they give me $20 million to do a movie. Well, Kiss $7 million can buy off taxes, right? Now you got $13 million, right? Okay. Well, I had a lawyer, I got a manager, I got an agent, I got an accountant. I got, makeup artists. I got this, that. By the time it's done, if I got 4 or 5 million left, like granted, I know that's a large number to people like us, but when this is your craft and you've done this for so long, this is that's not a lot, you know?
I mean, the
And
difference when you're independent though is that now it just comes out of pocket. Like you want to go on tour, well now you got to foot the bill for your production costs. You got to, you got to pay. You still got to pay your manager. You still got to pay your business manager. You still got
yeah,
to, you know what I mean? Like you still got to pay your accountant. You still got to pay your lawyer. Like all those costs don't go anywhere. It's just you have to pay them up front.
I think you'll appreciate this. Last week I seen because I know you speak very highly of DMX. Um
Oh, that's my
your
guy.
post of saying you shouldn't always meet your heroes. Um but DMX was different.
In
I was
every
very
way.
I was very upset that I couldn't make it when he was in Poughkeepsie. Very upset that I couldn't make that happen because I DMX for me is like literally like when you talk about all time favorites, for me it goes just like this. Nas, no one can tell me nothing bad about Nas. I don't care what no one says. It goes Nas, Tupac, and then DMX. Like those are my top three personally. Then it's like Method Man, like so he was, I think it was 106 in Park, and he was just like, he was saying how he wished people understood, like when an artist goes out on tour, the artist pays for that.
Mm-hmm.
When the artist, studio time, music videos, like people think that that stuff is free.
Yeah, no,
That,
it's
that,
not.
that stuff is not free.
No.
That is, the record label gives you a budget, but even
Yes.
still, you got to come out of pocket. So like still they'll say, okay, like even when like if you look at a show and they're like, okay, we got for we got a budget for 25 dates. Well, if you say I want to do 40 dates, guess where them other 15 are coming from? From you. And then that don't include the amenities on the road and the gas and the fuel. Like people don't take that stuff into consideration. And it's rough because like even like now, like I said, I'm looking at all the business sides of this, and I've got people who are helping me price wise, but even still, I still got to come up with that money no matter what the price is.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know and I'm now, I brought up DMX, but so obviously he was big for you. It sounds like he was like your favorite rapper ever, right?
That was
Arguably, if not.
is
Oh, is.
is
I'm
my
sorry.
favorite rapper.
Is.
Just because he passed doesn't mean that that part of it went away from me. Like he is the guy. Like he raised me. Like he saved my life many times. Like he is it for me.
What was it like? Because I would do anything to meet Nas. Anything. He's been such an inspiration for me. Um, him. And probably my other inspiration right now is probably J. Cole because I love J. Cole. But what was it like meeting him and just feeling that aura of his presence?
Yo, the thing about DMX is that like he doesn't have that superstar aura.
Well,
He
not the
has like
superstar. When
he
I say
has like
aura,
regular person aura. Like it's weird because you feel like you're gonna walk into a room with DMX and like I don't know, he's gonna have like a halo and like a glow behind him or something like, and he's just like in jeans, Timberlands, and a tall white tee. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just a regular ass dude, and he talks to you like a regular person, and like, I don't know, he just doesn't. He just doesn't like. I say he doesn't have that superstar aura like you would think a man like him should have. You know what I mean? Like
right?
he just, there's always so many stories of like, I went to a Chili's in Yonkers and there was DMX. Like he was just never that guy. Like he just never. I don't think he saw himself as a superstar. I don't think he understood like the
that he
magnitude of like
had.
what he brought to the hip hop game. Like I think he knew that he was talented. I think that he knew that he could speak to his audience, but I think that he knew that he had his demons and that he wasn't going to overcome them and that he was relatable in that aspect, and it just made him human, and I think it made him very approachable. And so like meeting him was, first of all, I cried and I didn't even know what to say. And so he just like came up and hugged me. Like it was just like nothing for him. Like he was just like very normal about it. And it was funny because my phone case at the time was him. It was the picture of him from the It's Dark and Hell is Hot cover.
Yeah,
So he was like so excited that my phone case was
was
him. Like he was just like,
him.
he thought that was like the coolest thing ever. So we were like talking about that, and we like took a couple pictures together and stuff, and I thanked him for raising me, and like we just like had like a normal conversation. Like it was just not a celebrity interaction. It was just very much like a
Real.
personal, real conversation, and he's just a real dude. Like the guy that is on the records, like with the pain and the realness and the authenticity, like that's who he is in person. Like he's not phony, fake, or whatever. Like his family was there with him in the green room. It wasn't like a whole
Right.
entourage of, because some of those people, it's like crazy. I always talk about my experience with PNB Rock, which rest in peace, PNB Rock. But like the first time that we brought him up here, like he showed up with like just a couple people, like in a t-shirt and jeans, and was like this goofy kid who had just come in the game, and was like so fun. And like the second time we brought him up here was like superstar aura. Like he had the whole entourage, the
Mhm.
girls, the dog on the leash, the big jacket, the chains, like, and he wasn't talking to nobody, and it was just like a totally different like night and day, like from just coming in the game to having a couple hits and being that dude. And then you have like DMX, who's like been in the game for 20 years, 25 years, and really is that dude.
And doesn't have that
And has
aura.
none of that. Like no attitude, like no, like not stuck up at all, like just a regular person. He took his time with every single person, like just super friendly and just totally amazing. And I'm just like really glad that I was able to experience that, because I actually have the picture. I have like a gallery of pictures like going up my stairs in my house,
Yeah.
and like the first picture is me and DMX. It's like my family, like my friends, my
But
dog,
X.
me and DMX.
Well, I guess aura wasn't the right word. Maybe energy, because DMX, even in his music,
No, I
he
think
had a certain.
or is the right word, because like I think like you said, like, and like I said first, like you would think that he deserves it. Like that man does. Like if he wanted to come in there on some superstar shit with a rider with if he wants 50 pizzas and 20 bottles of Hennessy or whatever, like you know it's DMX.
Yeah,
Like give the
yeah.
man what he wants, but like he's just not like that. He's just like me or you.
And it's crazy because you know, when DJ Miss Official was on here, she shared a DMX story. Um, Oswin has a DMX story that's out of this world. I have to try and find it if you've never seen it and send it to you. You like you got to hear it firsthand. You're gonna be like, wow, like it's out of this world. How sometimes the stars align,
Mm-hmm.
and his is like dead on with the stars aligning. Because but it's kind of like you know, kind of like some people just like to have that chill vibe, I'm sure you heard the Jay-Z story about DMX
Yeah.
at the concert. And then it's just like 34 more dates in a year.
Yeah. But like like even just like seeing DMX, like he always has the crowd crying, like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he just has that like unbelievable like connection with his fans. But like I'll tell you, like that was my favorite DMX like moment ever because had you top meeting DMX, like and obviously that'll never happen again. But like let me tell you, so I went to Rolling Loud in 2019 in Miami and he performed, right? And like so Festival DMX is like totally different. Like you've seen the
Oh,
Woodstock
oh yeah.
clip where it's like, 100,000 people and like unbelievable shit, right? So now I'm like at Rolling Loud and I'm waiting for DMX to come out. It's the only thing I wanted to see out of the 3 days there because I want to see fucking Festival DMX. Like I want to
Yeah.
see 100,000 people like rocking out to DMX, right?
Hell yeah.
Let me tell you. So it was day 3. It had rained that morning. It was the hottest day ever in life. Like 1,000,000% humidity. It was so sticky, like your clothes are just like sticking to you, right? It's
Like you're
miserable.
like you feels like Velcro.
Yes.
You're
Like
like,
you're just
oh,
sitting there like I'm not gonna make it, right? And so a couple acts perform or whatever. It's like midday, so it's like the hottest part of the
hottest
day.
point.
Yo, DMX comes out in the baggiest jeans, the Timberlands, and the tall tee. And I'm like, yo, how New York is this, man? Like, everybody else is in, like, a wife beater, shorts, like sneakers. And this man comes out in Timberlands, baggy jeans, and his
Oh,
tall tee and wrecks the stage. Like, unbelievable energy, like totally has the crowd going, plays all of his hits, and everybody is just going absolutely insane in the crowd. And I was just like, only this man could do this in this kind of weather.
oh God. Meanwhile, I'd be like, one song, one song. Uh,
I saw him come out and I was like, oh man, he's totally gonna pass out. There's no way. Like, why is he in jeans? But it was just one of those moments that I'll never forget. I was able to see DMX, which is so funny because my first concert ever, I was like, I don't know, maybe I could probably look it up because it was Mobb Deep's first tour, right? So DMX was supposed to play. I was like 13 or 14 years old, and I was
right.
like so excited, and he canceled, of course. So instead, they had Run DMC and Mobb Deep. It was Mobb
Oh,
Deep's first tour ever. So I got to see Mobb Deep on their
oof.
first tour ever with Run DMC instead of DMX. And at the time, I was like, I'll take it. But now that I'm older, I kind of appreciate what I saw. At the time, I was bummed because, I was obsessed with DMX. Like, I had his posters on my wall. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I was, like, totally obsessed with DMX. And honestly, now that I look back, like, my choice of boyfriends at the time, like, I totally understand now, like, why I was dating fellas and shit. Like, it was totally like, if I look back at my past relationships, it was like all DMX videos. Like, it totally was like my dating style. But like, like at the time, I was like totally depressed that DMX canceled. But as an adult, I'm like, okay, well, seeing Run DMC and Mobb Deep on their first ever tour, that's kind of cool. I guess. Like looking back, like I'll take it.
One of those moments, even still. Like I was at the 50th hip hop concert. It's a moment I'll take forever, forever. First rap concert I ever been to, and I seen just about anyone who's everyone there, from Melly
That
Mel
was your
to Run DMC.
first.
First rap
You
concert
waited till
ever.
the 50th?
Listen, I guess if I was gonna do it big.
Oh God.
And then like we were kind of up high when Method Man came out. He wasn't on the card. I almost fell down the
I,
stairs.
I met
Like
him too.
that, I could tell he's a cool dude. You can just tell.
Listen, yo, that was like by accident. So I went to go see the Wu-Tang down in the city at the I don't even know what it's called now. At the time it was like the PlayStation Arena or something like in Times Square. And we like came out the back of the um venue and my cousin was like, "Is that Method Man?" And I literally turned around and started jumping up and down and screaming. Like, it was like a total involuntary reaction. I was so embarrassed. Like, I was like, I like lost my shit. And he was like, he started laughing at me and he was like, come here, come here. And so he like called us over and he like sat there and like took pictures with us and stuff. And I was just like, is this really happening right now? Like, all it took was for me, like, all it took was for me to lose my mind. Like, how sweet is this?
And then he was just so calm. Like, come on.
Well, yeah, he's super high out of his mind. Like, I don't think he had the ability to not be calm, but like, he was just super chill and friendly and took pictures with all of us and was like, you know, talk to us for a little bit or whatever. Like, we weren't trying to bother him. He was like smoking a cigarette out the back door of the venue, so we just kind of like kept it as short as possible.
Just chilling, like, just chilling, like, bro, what are you doing? Like,
but I wish at the time. So I have a Wu-Tang tattoo, and I wish at the time that I had it, because now I'm on a mission to get a picture with all of the members. And so far, I have a picture of it with who I have a picture of it with, I forget, but I have a picture with one of the members.
So there's too many. I can't remember. I can never remember all their names.
The little short one, Ice Cream. What's his name?
Oh,
the famous one.
Who you got? RZA and Gizza and Jesus.
I can't
Meth.
use my phone to Google. No, I can't even think of his name. Oh, Raekwon.
Raekwon. Oh, good stories, good stories. But I want to know, if you had to take one thing right now, what's the biggest achievement that you've achieved so far in everything you've done?
The biggest achievement? Probably the radio show and how far I've come. I never would have pictured that for myself, especially when I started doing the promo work in 2016. Like, never would have pictured myself as the host of a radio show. Especially, I have social anxiety, so like, radio show,
yep.
Talking to people, like, what? Like, how did we get here?
Yeah, I know that feeling. Like, for a while, I was uncomfortable in the camera. Now I'm cool here, but now people want me to talk in front of other people, like with a microphone and talking. Like, I could do it in certain settings. Like, I spoke at my wedding. I wasn't supposed to talk, but I took the microphone, started yapping. I spoke at my mom's wedding, but now you want me to get up there and do something like planned in front of people, like spur of the moment, a couple drinks, cool.
I was gonna say drugs.
Yeah. Well, I got a CDL, so drugs are out.
Not for me.
Oh, you're good. You're in a field where they're not gonna drug test you either.
No. It's the only way.
How do you define success in your field?
In my field? I mean, I think success is so subjective, and I think people place too much on success. And like, I think for me, like, success is being able to do this, right? Like, we just talked about social anxiety. Like, I think 5 years ago, even just starting this show was a success. Like, right. I never, like, I think I never would have pictured myself being able to talk on the radio. Like, even just the thought of people listening to me, like, or how many people would be listening to me, would have been, crippling, right? So, like, the fact that I do this every week, to me, is a success.
Right.
The fact that I do it and people actually listen, and that it's been, now 5 years and people still tune in, and the numbers, especially on WVKR, like, the numbers are there. Like, that's a success to me. I think people place too much like pressure on success nowadays, especially in the age of social media, because now you can quantify everything, right? It's right. Like, how many followers do you have? How many downloads do you have? How many listeners do you have? So I think, you could say, success is successful there because of the numbers, yes. But I think, just doing this day in and day out, with how much work it is, with, how much goes into it. You know,
Right.
it's hard sometimes working a 9 to 5, and I do other stuff outside of this and outside of my 9 to 5, and I have a house to take care of and a dog to take care of and myself to take care of, because you got to take care of your mental health too, and you got to practice self-care. It's a success every day or every week, like when I show up and put an episode together.
Right.
So I think there's like little successes along the way, that people should celebrate. And, I celebrate when I put an episode together, like that's a success for me. Or when I get a certain number of downloads after not having put out an episode. Like last week, we had like, I think 72 downloads or something like that. And I haven't put an episode out on the podcast platform in months. So that means like someone new tuned in and listened to all of my prior episodes. Like that's a success to me. You know what I mean? Or when they reach out, when the exec team reaches out from WVKR and says, hey, In the Field radio is killing it. It's like, man, like despite all of the things, like despite all the challenges, despite all of the barriers, like we're out here doing it. And like, that feels good. I think that's success to me.
And it sounds like you measure success differently than most. And what I say to that, what I say when I say that is, some people measure success by a dollar amount. I would say most people probably measure success by a dollar amount, right? And all those other things you mentioned, viewers and followers and this and that and that. But one thing that I know is if you're consistent with something, all that other stuff falls into place. The follower, like you said, you've been consistent. You've been doing this 5 years. You have the following. You're getting new viewers. You're seeing new people. You're reaching out to different ears.
Well, I think honestly, if you're getting into this for the money, quit immediately, because it doesn't come right away. You're not gonna see major success right away. It's just not gonna happen. Like that's not how it works. It's not how it works as an artist. It's not how it works, like in any of these creative arts fields, and I'm talking as an artist, like whether you're a painter or you make music or whatever, like you're not gonna go out and sell your first painting for $1 million. Like your first song isn't gonna get 1 million downloads. Like, so like if you think that like your first podcast is gonna get 20 downloads, like quit immediately. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna get a sponsor off of, and that's why, like I said, like sponsorships to me, like I don't let that dictate what I do, because it also has to be like a sponsor would also have to be in line with my brand. Like, am I comfortable with what this sponsor is? Like I didn't get in this to chase sponsorships. I didn't get in this, like I said, with WVKR, I can't make money off of that. It has to be through the podcast or the Village Global Network or through any of that. It has to be through those alternative channels. And it's opened up a shit ton of doors for me. Like, trust me, I make money off of this. It's just not through these channels. Like, the doors that it's opened in other ways. And somebody else told me that getting into this, like, with WVKR, like, you won't make money here. It will open a ton of doors for you. And that's been true, So it's like I didn't get into this for the money. I didn't get into this for the sponsorships. Like, I got into this because this is what I'm passionate about. This is a passion project for me. And like, I really enjoy telling other people's stories and giving people a platform. Like, I've always felt that I had a voice and that I wanted to help people amplify their voice. And to me, that's a success. So it's like anything else above and beyond that, to me, I'm winning. It's just extra for me.
Absolutely. And I think that I think that that's something that people don't understand is, unfortunately, patience is a virtue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we were younger, and you look like years before this inflation and all this, that, and the third, is that it seemed like it came easier to people, versus now it's harder. But I think it's only harder because things are more expensive, one, and more people are doing it.
Oh yeah,
Like you didn't have,
Simon.
right? You know, it's kind of like a saturated market if you really like think about it in this
Yeah, but
sense.
you know what? Like, but there's also got to be. So here's some more game that I don't think people always like think about is like, what's your angle? Like, you can't just go out and do like. People also get into this for the wrong reasons, right? Because they think they're going to go viral overnight and they're going to make $1 million trillion and be famous, and that's what it is. And like 99% of this shit fails, right? And then you look at the people that don't have the patience, and that's why in 6 months they're not around anymore.
Right.
So that's why I always said to people, like, when I do something, it's like when you go into the ketchup aisle, there's mad different brands of ketchup, right?
Yeah.
But you want to be the Heinz of ketchup, right? You want
Yeah.
to be the preeminent brand of ketchup. Like, you don't want to go be the store brand of ketchup. You're not gonna, like, your goal is to not be the store brand. It's to be the top brand of ketchup. It's to be the most quality, tasteful brand of ketchup. So
Right.
like everybody else is going to be there regardless of what you do. Focus on what you're doing. Put out a quality product, make sure it's what the people want, and if it's not, then you can't look at what other people are doing to find out what you're doing wrong. Like, you need to look within. So like when with podcasting, it's like you could have the same kind of show that's similar to what everybody else is doing, but what's your angle that makes you different and separates you from everybody else? Because you have to have that. You can't just go be an internet radio show or a Facebook live streaming show or
Mm-hmm.
an Instagram live streaming show and be the same fucking show that everybody else is doing and think you're gonna do it better than somebody else with the same formula, because you're not any different. If they're not winning and you're doing the same thing they're doing, you're not winning.
You're just adding really to what's already there.
And that's already not winning. So like what is going to make you different and make you win? Like if there's 16 shows that are doing the same thing in your area, don't be the 17th.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand. And then you see one show that is popular, and then you see like 15 other shows that are trying to do the same thing as that one show that's popular, and those 15 shows aren't going to be able to replicate what that one successful show is doing. You need to be the 15 other shows that are doing something that your own formula of what you're trying to do. Like, you can't just ride somebody else's coattails. Like, that's not how it works either. So like, it's hard because the market is saturated, right? But there's something out there for everybody. Like, you see, there's like how many podcasts of people that talk about Disney, but there's
Yeah.
mad people that listen to podcasts that talk about Disney. So if your podcast is different and talks about Disney than all the other Disney podcasts, people will listen to you. So
Right.
you just have to find what your niche is and find who your audience is and attract your listeners and do your thing.
Right. And and it's just like I said, I've been doing this since February. Got a lot of positive feedback. And season one's ending in November, and I've already started dialing up different things for season two. I took some ideas from someone who missed a conversation, something that not many people are doing. That's all I'm going to say right now. It's still kind of like this, but the types of things that will be happening in season two, not many people are doing them. Not many people are doing them. So I'm hoping that there's growth from this.
Season one, you always have to that's the growing pain season. You got to get season one out the way.
I think, and you're like, I think you're like the 34th episode. I've been consistent.
That's crazy. That's
for
a big
content
season.
purposes, because I was going to do like 10 episodes, but then one of my close friends, I'm sure you know her, Remedy Love,
Mm-hmm.
We were talking, and she goes, Mike, 10 ain't gonna cut it. You're gonna need to do more than that. So, and I've had the honor of interviewing her 3 times on this show. So I just so I just kept going and just said, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going. And now I know I'm getting to a point where doing, because I, on top of handling everything on this show, I handle everything on the sports show as well. So it's really getting a lot. In sports, there's no breaks. So
at all.
it's just going. And now, to make matters worse, I'm a big wrestling fan.
Oh my
One of my
God.
So now my friends have suckered me into a wrestling show. And
I
I'm
don't know
like,
how you people do it with multiple shows.
it is difficult. And then on top of that, I have a music show coming. That's not going to be every week though. That's going to be kind of like, I want to have a platform because I like music. No other reason. I like music. I want to have a platform where artists send me their music. I listen to it and we talk about it. That's simple. There's nothing special. There's nothing different. It's something that I'm doing because I like music. That's 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 really it. And if something comes of it, cool. But if not, I'm gonna continue to do it because I like music. I feel like you've answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. We're coming to the close. What advice would you give someone starting in the industry? And that's in any form or fashion of what you're doing. But in a way, like I said, I feel like you've answered that. But if there's anything else you had to say about that, what would you say?
Well, in podcasting and that sort of thing, like just start. That's the biggest.
Podcast, radio, whatever people want to do.
Just start, man. Like I feel like people always spend so much time thinking about what they want to do, and it becomes hard to pull the trigger. And I get asked that question a lot, actually. Well, people will reach out to me and say, like, okay, how do I get started? Like, you just have to start. Like, figure what's the starting point for you. You know what I mean? Like, do you have the equipment or do you need to go somewhere? Like, do you have your show notes written down and where you're headed? Because if you have all that kind of stuff figured out, like if you have like the basic logistics figured out, then just start. There's no like, you have no audience. No one is waiting for you to drop an episode. No one's waiting. You know what I mean? Like there's no pressure at that point. You could do whatever you want. Just get it out there. It's like you're the one that's holding you back. Like you're overthinking it. And I feel like that's the hardest barrier to entry, really, is the overthinking. Like you kind of just have to, because you're going to have growing pains. It's never going to be perfect. You're going to have to get a few terrible shows out there to kind of figure out what the direction is, because it might sound perfect on paper. And then when you start doing it, you might be like, man, I don't like that. I need to move this here. I want to change that. Like all those things are going to, man, this co-host isn't working. They got to go. Like this isn't working by myself. I need a co-host. Like you're going to start to figure all those things out when you're live. You're not going to figure them out in your head on paper and just sitting there not doing it. So I think the biggest piece of advice I have is just start. Everything else will come. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying, absolutely. That was advice I was given when I was debating on when to start this show because I wanted it to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, it's just not going to be at all.
Well, you want it to be perfect because it's your baby.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But like the other thing is that the audience doesn't know it's not perfect unless you tell them it's not perfect. So if you like flub something and you just kind of keep it moving, there's no way that the audience is going to be able to tell that something went wrong unless you draw attention to it, right? So even if you were to make a change or move something around or add something or take something out, the audience doesn't know that that wasn't part of your original plan. So,
right.
It's like funny when like, us behind the scenes, like we make big deals about stuff and the audience has no idea any of that stuff is happening at all.
Nothing. It's even like sometimes just doing this here, like something will be going on and they got no clue. Like I remember one time, I forget who I was interviewing, but my daughter's over there just talking to me, and I'm giving her hand motions off camera, but I'm looking at the camera, and they're, but I can see her over here, and they're just like, and then she's looking at me like, how is he answering, but he's not looking at me, you know,
Shout out to
like even
Maserati Styles though. Like he taught me that, like doing promo. Like anytime we would have an event, and it was like, the whole event you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, and like, all this stuff is happening, and it's like the audience has no idea any of this is happening. They're enjoying the DJ, they're enjoying the performances, they're having a grand old time. And meanwhile, you're stressed out to the point where you're ready to have a stroke on stage, behind stage. And
no,
they're having the best time of their lives. And it's like, this is why we do it.
right,
It's so that
right, because,
they can have a good time. It's not for us.
right,
You know what I mean? Like, it's not for us to have a good time. We're there to work. And I
right,
remember him saying, like, as long as the audience doesn't know that any of this is happening, it's fine. To them, it just seems like there's an event going on, and it's fine, and they're having a good time. And I was just like, oh, God, that's so true. Like, the World War III could be happening behind the stage as long as they're having a good time and they don't know about it. It doesn't matter. And I've carried that forward many times in my life, and it was a good piece of advice that I'm not sure that he knew that he was giving.
right, and that's just it. Like I took pictures out of a Puff and Poetry. Yeah, that's what it was called, at the Happy Tree in Newburgh.
Shout out to
The
them. I want to get Tiffany on the show.
Well, it's funny. She, her and Tasha, I'm doing my first in person interview, and they will be my guests.
Really? That's so funny.
November 7th.
I have to
I have
reach out to them.
I have garnered a lot of networking from them, and the position I'm in with the things that are starting to align for me behind the scenes, I owe a lot to them. So I felt it was only right that the first episode was them, and it will be in her business, her
That
space.
place is
And
fantastic.
oh, I don't smoke, but it's great there. It's great. And but I was doing the event, taking pictures, and I'm just watching everyone set up, and I'm like, yo, this is wild. And like the way that I'm aligning things right now is like, I told my wife, I said, well, you're gonna have to handle the finances. My children have started dabbling with cap cut. So guess what? They're learning, and I'll pay them, but they can start learning how to do the promotion.
Yep.
And I just start utilizing the strengths of the family to kind of garner where I need to go, being it's available. They learn something. If they don't, and we can go from there. It's something that can benefit everyone. And but to your point, is just watching. And that was a rather small, more intimate event, but an event's an event. A lot goes into it prior, and a lot goes into it once you're there.
I got burnt out on doing the events.
Oh, they're a lot.
Uh,
They're a lot. Like, I don't know how Ralph, I'm sure you know Ralph Mavor. I don't know how he does it, like, and enjoys it thoroughly.
I think it takes a special type of person to enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it. And I finally, after the last one, I was just like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Best of luck to you all.
I'm done.
I'm good.
So, three more. How do you continue learning and growing within your field?
So I touched earlier on how traditional learning was not for me.
Right.
But I am a sponge and I like to learn all the time. So I research everything all the time. I'm a reader. I read constantly. So if there's something that I need to know or want to know, I will find the answer. I also look to other people that know what they're doing, and I'm not afraid to ask questions or reach out to people. I've done a significant amount of networking in this business. I have a lot of resources that I can pull from. So, um, yeah, I think that this is one of those businesses too that everything is constantly changing rapidly.
Yes.
Um, you have to constantly learn, especially with technology. It's not, we don't have the luxury of not learning. Like, I'm old and I have to learn all these new social media platforms all the time, and I hate it. It's the bane of my existence, but you have to do it. You have to do it. So, and that's the thing too, is like, even just looking to like the younger kids, like you said, CapCut, like TikTok, like all that stuff, like I had to learn all of that stuff. So, um, yeah, just constantly trying to keep up with all of the in-demand stuff.
And being open to it, because you have people who, as they get older, they ain't adapting. They're like,
You
screw
don't
this.
have that luxury. Like when you're trying to promote something, like I mean, I shouldn't say that. You have to be cognizant of where your audience is too. Like
Right.
you have to focus on where your engagement is. Like if your engagement isn't on TikTok, it's you have to have a presence, but you don't have to focus on it. If your audience is on Instagram, that's where you should put your focus. So, but it's also learning those things too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for you right now, where you stand or sit, however you want to look at it, what is next for you
just
in any
trying to go
I
ahead.
was say in any regard of growth, or however you want to look at it.
Just for me, I have taken quite a long hiatus, I think, from what I had sustained quite a bit of growth over the last 5 years. And then when I got hit with being sick, that was October of 2023, that was like new for me. I wasn't used to having to take a seat. So trying to balance that and everything else going on was really difficult. But I had to put my health first because thankfully I'm still here. If I didn't do
Bless.
that, I wouldn't have been. So unfortunately, that really slowed me down for quite some time. And after that, I had some other things going on in my personal life that really, like, not just affected my physical health, but like my mental health too.
Which is
So
important.
I was, which is like for the first time in my life, it was like a really like rocky time for me. And so it was like trying to navigate that. And also, like, how was I supposed to interview people when I wasn't in a good headspace, right? So, like, juggling that was really difficult. So I really kind of like fell back from doing the interviews and focused more on just putting together music episodes of the show,
Yeah.
which kind of hindered me in a lot of ways too, because I wasn't really out networking as much either, right? And that's what I actually said. And so I made a joke one time in the intro to the show. I said I was going to change the name of the show from In the Field Radio to In the Crib Radio because I wasn't going out anymore. Because how am I going to be like, what, how I'm not in the field anymore, right? We, named the show In the Field Radio because we were constantly out in the field, right?
Right.
But I like made the joke that, changing the show name to In the Crib Radio because that's where I've been. But I, I, I really want to, and I've reached out to a bunch of people, like I really want to get back into interviewing people and really like getting out there again and getting out into the thick of things with people and like familiarizing myself with who because like there's been some artist names out there that I've seen that were unfamiliar to me. And so I
Hmm.
was like, okay, there's like a new crop of people that are springing up, and that's good, right? Like you want to see that.
Absolutely.
You want to see that the area is growing and that there's new people coming in. And it's not just the same names over and over and over again. Because I think for like the last couple of years, it was the same names all the time.
Right.
Anytime you would see a showcase, it was like the same handful of names. And you don't want to see that. You want to see different people coming into the area. You want to see different names on different performance lineups. Like you want to see growth. You want to see new people coming in, even from the area. It means that younger kids are coming up and they're taking this seriously and they're performing. And like I want to see that. So, like I've kind of been excited, even though I haven't been as tapped in. I'm always tapped in, you know. So I really want to get back into the swing of things. I feel like I'm finally in a place where I can start to like slowly put my foot back in the water. So I've started reaching out to a couple people to come on the show. So I'm starting to set up interviews.
Okay.
Um, I'm getting back into the radio station because I took the summer off, and so I'll be there every day, and
Okay.
that's exciting because I want to see people get their FM spins and have their voices heard on the radio, because that's not just, it's not just the inmates either. It's the college students, and you know how powerful that fan base can be too.
As well, yeah.
So I'm actually going to reach out to one of the students who is on Faster Advice. I want him to come on the show too, because he's like really tapped into with some of the students. And there's a student that just dropped an album. I want him to come on the show too. So, it's bridging the gap between the college and the community too, because I feel like sometimes the college operates in a bubble.
Yeah.
But I've met some really cool people there, so I want them to come on the show, and I want the community to hear them, because I think they have really cool voices. So just like slowly like coming back out of my shell and getting back into the swing of things and getting back into doing what I was doing, and hopefully not too many of my listeners, strayed too far. Hopefully they'll come back and listen. I was kind of going back and forth too about doing a rebrand, and maybe even like changing up the name and that sort of thing, and wondering if it was kind of like the right time, since I was on hiatus. Like, should I just come back as In the Field Radio, or should I come back as something totally different? And that way people aren't like, oh, well, In the Field Radio, like, where have you been? Like, this is stale. You've
Right.
been there, done that. Where have you been? But I think I'm going to keep it In the Field Radio.
You could always contemplate a different logo, right?
Yeah.
That, if you really don't want to, you want something fresh, but you don't want to fully rebrand. That may be another possible direction.
That's what I was thinking, like a new flyer design. Like, it's time for a refresh anyway. I usually do one every year. Um, yeah, I can play around with that. I'm going to update our drops and that sort of thing. I would really love to get with like a producer and get some new background music. I would really love to get with somebody and get some new intro music. Do just like really freshen some things up, but we'll see.
Well, I got a guy if you need him. An
Who is
engineer.
it?
Huh?
Who is it?
His name's John Eldred.
Oh, I know him.
He does. Yep, that's my guy. He does ciphers or something. Those ciphers or something.
He used to send me the ciphers.
What'd you say?
He used to send me the ciphers to play on the radio.
Yeah, he's good at those. Some of them he does the way he's gonna start doing them better with like the judges before, because I was a judge on the last one he did and helping debate the artists, but because he had one, it was like 13 people. I'm like, bro, thing was like 9 minutes long. Like, when I was gonna have Judah Phenom on the show, I was going back listening to his verses, and I'm like, I don't even remember him on this one. There were so many people.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's too many. You got to cut it down.
Yeah, so now he's like, I think I'm gonna do 5.
I
You
can't
know?
believe he does that because he does all that out of pocket.
Oh
Like with the
yeah,
videos and stuff. Like, I can't even believe he does all that. Like, shout out to him for that. He's totally underrated in this area as an engineer and for the contributions that he makes on the cipher. It's like people really need to show him more love and more respect because no one else is doing that for the community.
right. And I recently, because we worked together and like our normal jobs, he was talking about not doing them anymore, and I was like, hold on, bro, hold on. Well, let's talk about this. Let's have a discussion before you make a decision like that.
But do you blame him? Like, I feel like
I don't.
exactly.
I wasn't talking from the business standpoint. I was talking from the fan
Yeah,
standpoint.
no, for sure. No, I
Well,
get it. I get it from both standpoints. I see where he's coming from and I see where you're coming from.
you know,
But I just wish that he would get the respect that he deserves for what he does because he deserves it.
absolutely. So, if anyone would like to send you their music or send you anything or contact you in order to come on the show, where can they find
It's
you?
really simple. Info at inthefieldradio.com is where they can email me. They can send it to me in MP3 or WAV file. Do not send me links. I will delete them. And make sure that it's mixed because if it's not, I will also delete it. And if they want to look us up on social media, it's In the Field Radio everywhere. And then inthefieldраdio.com is our website, and that's where you can check out all our prior episodes. You can check out all our interviews and see what we're about.
Beautiful. And the last thing is I always end every show with a positive ending message. And what that is for, a moment for you to say something to the audience who's still in here or who might watch this back that's positive and uplifting for them. The floor is yours.
Positive and uplifting. I want to say keep going. That just despite all the adversity that you will face, because like we said before, right, you're gonna hear way more no's than you will yeses.
Absolutely.
Despite all of the no's, it's all worth it in the end. And
Absolutely.
to keep going, especially if this is what you're passionate about.
And whatever, and that's just whatever you're passionate about. Keep going. Don't stop. Keep going, and keep striving to be better than you were yesterday. Erin, I'd like to thank you for your time.
No,
Appreciate you.
before we get out of here, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When are you coming on my show?
You let me know when you're ready for it to happen. I'll
No,
be
I'm
there.
ready for it to happen. I'm asking you when you're coming on my show, what date and what time. We can do it
Okay.
on Zoom because that's how I pre-record. So
Okay.
it can be pretty much whenever you're free to
Well, what
record.
day do you like to record?
I can record pretty much any day.
All right, as long as it's not Monday or Tuesday, because I do the sports show Monday and this show Tuesday. I could do any other day.
What's today? Tuesday.
Today is the 1st or the 2nd. Hold on. Today is October 1st.
Do you want to record like next Wednesday?
Yeah, I can do that next Wednesday.
Yeah, what time works for you?
Well, work shouldn't be too busy, so hold on. Let me just.
I'm done at 4:30, so anytime after that.
Oh, yeah, I'm usually done about 2:30, so I'm just looking at something here. Calendar. just trying. I don't think. Yeah, no. Next Wednesday should be okay. So yeah, it could be done. It could. I could do 7.
Okay. So then I'll send
Yeah, I could.
over the Zoom link once we're done here.
Okay, yeah, I'll do next Wednesday at 7. That'll be. Let me put it in my phone because I I will.
You will forget.
I will forget, and then you're gonna hit me.
I'm the
Like
same way. No,
yeah,
because I'll follow up the same morning. I never leave people hanging because you have no idea
oh,
how many no shows I dealt with in the beginning. And that was like live in the studio no shows.
oh Jesus, and then then you got to think on the fly. Okay, so that okay, yeah, I'm starting to notice if I don't like put it in my phone, it's like it doesn't
It
exist.
doesn't exist.
Yeah, so I'm just like yeah, doesn't exist. Well, I appreciate you thinking of me to come on. I will definitely got it in there. I want to thank you for your time. I try to keep these interviews under an hour and a half, but it doesn't always
Listen, we
work
didn't
out.
make it, but it's all right. I feel like we covered a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, my guest last week, I had her on, and I'm starting to realize that the topics I know less about, I'm on there longer. Her and I were almost on for 3.5 hours.
Oh my God.
But then after the interview portion, it turned into just a conversation about life. And yeah, like it was like a deep, good conversation. And I'm just like, yo, this is not the direction that I planned it to go, but I'm kind of glad it went that direction. It was a good time. And if I weren't getting tired, her and I would probably still be on there talking a week later.
Those are always the best. The ones you don't plan for, they always end up the best. It's the ones that you always plan for that you're like, it's not what I was hoping for.
Yeah. I mean, I just kind of, once I start researching the topic, I start writing the questions I'll show you your interview here, I kind of I get, I kind of just start writing out the questions, kind of start putting it together. And then, then by the time I have a front and back page, next week, Sammy B's coming on. So I have to be selective.
Listen, I'm trying to hunt her down and she keeps not answering me. If she doesn't give me a date, I'm going to show up at her house.
Yeah, she's, I asked her, she was supposed to be the 4th person on the show.
Oh my God. So you've been waiting 30 people for her to come
on? But the scheduling just ain't been right. There's certain people I can't get this scheduling down.
But
I'm
really anxious for her to come on, especially because of the addiction and the program that she's working now and the little center that they open and stuff. I'm dying to talk to her about that, especially because of the addiction with my sister and that stuff. I just feel like there's so much conversation there that I could talk to her about. And I love artists that bring different conversations to the table. So it's not just when did you start making music and how long have you been doing this and what's next and do you have any live performances. Those types of interviews tend to just be very generic, cookie cutter questions. When they don't have anything going on, I try not to bring people on anymore that don't have something going on. Right. But when you have someone like her that has so much going on, it's man, I really want that interview because you have a lot to offer the listeners.
And even if there's not much going on with her, there's something going on because between her music, between that stuff,
the art,
the actual art, paint.
Yeah.
She DJs. Mm-hmm. She does creative work. She makes things. Just her creative niche is so much, which is why it's going to be very difficult to channel because she has new music out. So I have to talk about her music, right? And I would like to cover that. I would like to cover all that, but there ain't gonna. I don't want to sit through another 3-hour interview, as I'm sure she doesn't either. So so I have to really be selective and kind of channel in. But yeah, she's been a hard one to get. Moochie's been hard to get. GM.
See, I won't bring Moochie on my show until she brings me on her show.
Yeah, it's kind of an eye for an eye. She even contacting her is difficult. Like I've called her and I've started talking. She's like, bro, I'll call you back. And then and I know she's busy. You get, she got kids at home and her normal job, this and that. It just hasn't come to fruition yet. But I'm gonna get her.
I'm trying
But
to
I
get
may.
the lady that opened the Governess, the restaurant in Poughkeepsie,
Mm-hmm.
because she owns 2 restaurants in the city too. And I'm like, female owned entrepreneur, like, yes, now you need to be on my show.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are very big on women empowerment.
Yes,
And
and that's why like Tiffany from Happy Tree and like they need to come on the show. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, like, woman entrepreneur, like, you own a fire establishment that operates as like a venue, like, you could smoke weed there and all that, like, need to come on the show. The only thing is I gotta check the FCC guidelines and see how much of that I have to edit before I can air it.
yeah,
That's one of those that, like, that might have to go straight to podcast.
yeah, just like, yeah, we're just gonna put this there.
Yeah, like, or like I can edit it where it's like, because a lot of the interviews too, like when they're really long, I tell the guest like, I'm gonna edit this to like 20 minutes for the show, and then the long
Right.
form will go on podcast, so it'll be kind of like a teaser of the whole thing. And then I say after the interview, I say like, please check out the long form on the podcast platforms where we talk about such and such.
Right. And that's what you have to do. And that's something I'm learning as we speak. Well, I thank you for your time
Yes,
for
thank
this
you for having
interview.
me.
Of course, I hope you had a great time.
I did. This was fun. I haven't done this in a while, and this was a really good interview.
I appreciate the invite to your show, and I will be on with you next Wednesday. That's October the 9th. So it's in my calendar. I won't forget because if I didn't put it there, I would have forgotten.
It wouldn't exist.
And you have a good night.
You the same.
And just like I said, everyone, 2 things. Like I said, Sammy B will be on the show next week. And merchandise is on the way for the show as well. So look out for that. Everyone have a good night. We'll see you next week.
Night. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.